Hey. Sibuyile. We are reacting to categories of Julius Malema, hero or tyrant.
Yeah, Melusi
Jubane. Yeah. Anyway, still like it.
We're fans, Melusi. We're fans. We like your content.
We're fans. Please like, subscribe, comment, suggest anything you'd like to see, and yeah, suggest anything. Just react go watch all the other content that we have. We have a bunch of content suitable for normal bani. You'll find your niche now. See you there.
Walking a thin line between beauty and chaos, visions of uniting the entire continent of Africa. When you go to videos of Julius Malema, you will slowly start to realize he is not only loved by many black South Africans, but you will find many other African nationals expressing their desire to have a president like this man. It's quite remarkable, honestly. As I did my research, I became conflicted because when you look at Julius Malema, you start to ask yourself, is it the second coming of Muammar, a man who had a dream to unite the continent of Africa and have the continent using one army and one currency, a dream that would eventually cost his life? The question then becomes, is Malema a visionary or just another in a long line of tyrants? Let's trace Malema's life and history so we can understand him a little bit better. Julius Silo Malema was born in a township called Seshego in 1981. This Seshego is actually found in Polokwane in Limpopo. During the times when Malema was born, the regime was known as the Transvaal. As you all should know, before being named South Africa, the country was also known as the Transvaal Republic. He is of Sotho descent, raised by a single mother and eventually raised by his grandmother. Immediately got introduced to the world of politics at a young age of 9 or 10 when he joined the Trailblazers movement of the African National Congress. His main task was to remove National Party posters in order to help increase the competitive advantage of the ANC. In 1997, he became the provincial chairman of the Congress of South African Students in Limpopo. One thing I noticed during my research into Malema is that when he speaks, he makes you want to follow him. He always knows exactly what to say and when to say it. Very charismatic. But another recurring theme throughout his political career is he is very chaotic as well. If we speak honestly, and I know a lot of you Malema diehard fans will be very angry, but I'm just going to give my honest and unbiased opinion.
I think one thing that EFF does is that most of the people who EFF, they were actually groomed to become what they are from a young age.
It's like
they're prodigies, basically.
I find like some of the ministers that you have where it's like
cabinet reshuffle. Your motherfuckers Minister of Transport is now the Minister of
In 2010, he completed a 2-year diploma in youth development through the University of South Africa, or famously known as UNISA. At UNISA, he completed a Bachelor of Arts in Communication and African Languages, an honors degree in philosophy. Now, let's take a deep dive into his time during the ANC Youth League before reaching in recent years and his current ambitions and desires, because his ambitions and desires are quite admirable, honestly. In 2008, Malema was the provincial secretary of the Limpopo branch of the ANC Youth League and a leading choice for election as president of the National Youth League. His candidacy and support had the support of the outgoing league president FEWL, while outgoing League Secretary General Sihle Zikalala supported a man called Saki Mofokeng. You know, like these ANC politicians, they change their roles like nobody's business, especially the ministers. FEWL was the ANC Youth League. Next thing is the Minister of Finance, Minister of Sports. You never know, honestly. You never know what qualifications they may have, but a minister can change his pants any day of the week.
But I think that's the same for most countries. Even though states and stuff, you just become a senator or governor. It's like
no, but you're basically doing relatively the same thing.
You know, some qualifications.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's not like it's much worse because the roles, as much as you're a minister, but the roles are still broad as hell.
Yeah.
They're still like broad as hell. Because when you're in the Senate, when you're working in the Senate, it's basically the same thing because we are within the Senate, as opposed to the governor also. Now you need that influence. I'm a minister. It's like, what the hell?
He received 1,833 votes against Mafokeng's 1,696 votes and was elected alongside a number of allies, including Andile Lungisa as deputy president. The outcome of the vote was immediately disputed, including by conference delegates who claimed that incidents of intimidation had prevented them from voting. As you know, with Malema's fiery nature, the conference fell into complete chaos and apparently there was a number of chairs that were thrown around. But later on, ANC Secretary General at the time had to step in and tell Mofokeng to step aside and let the vote stand because obviously Malema was the candidate of choice and so the vote stood. By the time of his election as Youth League president, Malema was a strong supporter of President Jacob Zuma and an outspoken, and I mean outspoken critic of former ANC President Thabo Mbeki. In 2008, he defended Zuma, who was facing prosecution on corruption charges, at a rally in Tabanchu, Free State, famously announcing, "We are prepared to die for President Jacob Zuma. We are prepared to take up arms and KILL for Jacob
Don't make such promises.
Zuma." In September, he vowed to eliminate any force that sought to block Zuma from the national presidency. So the signs of corruption in Jacob Zuma were already there before he even became president. The man was facing charges of corruption before even becoming the president. So in a very twisted way, Julius Malema was part of the people to blame for helping clean up Zuma's flaws and allowing his bad side to fly under the radar so he can ascend to the presidency. If we are honestly speaking, right, and not being biased. I know it's probably because he was young and very naive at the time, but it's quite fascinating to learn that Malema also played a role in the ascension of Zuma into becoming president of South Africa.
But that was an important role though, because you know like why they really do Zuma as much as president, because Mbeki wanted to be president for the third term.
Yeah, I remember that.
And if he had, he'd probably still be president Nanamusha. He'd probably still be president Nanamusha. So it's one of those, it's like,
But we know it's obviously the white monopoly people at the end who allowed Zuma to take power. The greatest thing about the presidency of Jacob Zuma is the way he stopped load shedding by giving Eskom clear instructions to keep the
and it doesn't get enough credit for that. He literally does not get enough credit for that.
lights on. So it's quite fascinating and odd that when Zuma went out of power, only a few years later, load shedding started hitting us. Are they hitting us with load shedding because of some hidden agenda? But I guess only time will tell. Ahead of the 2009 general election, Malema was nominated to stand for election as a member of parliament, but he declined on the grounds that parliament is for all people. Yes, that's exactly what he said. Parliament is for all people. Malema is so greatly admired by myself as well because at least his generation can relate to the pain our silver spoon generation is feeling. We're not used to not having electricity or not having water for many hours. The older generation are not acting for the sake of the future. They don't consider how their actions of stealing state funds can lead to our generation and our future children suffering as well. This is a problem in almost every nation in the world. They always put these grannies, these grandmas and grandpas who can't even climb stairs without the help of other people. But let's also admit that having the wrong young leader with too much ambition can also be lethal to a nation because some fiery leaders can easily become dictators or conquerors out of sheer ambition. Nonetheless, Malema campaigned energetically for ANC and for Jacob Zuma. Although Malema remained an ally of Zuma in the months ahead of his election as president of South Africa in May 2009, they fell out publicly by mid-2010. Malema later explained that he had to turn on Zuma when he realized that Zuma was incapable of fulfilling the policy agenda that had secured him election as ANC president in 2007. According to Malema, Zuma took a harsher stance towards the league only after it rejected him. According to an alternative interpretation, Zuma adjusted his stance towards Malema and the league in 2010, notably by instituting disciplinary proceedings against Malema because he apparently realized that Malema's outspoken militancy constituted a political liability for him or a political threat to him. By early 2010, Zuma faced pressure from the public and from inside the ANC to turn down Malema's increasingly aggressive conduct. The Mail and Guardian reported that Zuma was concerned about being seen as a lame leader or a lame duck by the ANC Youth League.
Jesus, Malema has been in parliament since when?
Parliament?
Not EFF, but
no,
parliament.
Was parliament under ANC.
He wasn't.
Was government. It was just youth.
ANC Secretary General at the time, Gwede Mantashe, told the media that henceforth ANC members would be punished if they engaged in public feuds with each other or attacked one another. At the same time, the ANC National Executive Committee, or the NEC, released a statement which objected to the lack of respect which some of the leaders and structures of their movement had for the
How do you measure that? Lack of respect.
NEC's decisions, describing it as incompatible with the ANC's historical mission, to its discipline and its protocols. Yeah, right. Protocols of looting state funds to enrich their family
How did you get there?
members. These politicians are quite surprising, especially the ANC members. News 24 said that those statements were clearly directed at Malema, who had talked badly about almost everyone in leadership of the governing alliance, and especially when he attacked then Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan in the media. And we all know Pravin Gordhan is the male bestie of Johan Rupert, for those who didn't know. But it's allegedly. We don't want any lawsuits, right? You would think Malema would bend the knee after that, right? Nah. Following the announcement, he was involved in a further series of well-publicized controversies later in March and in early April. The first concerned Malema's singing of the controversial song Dubulipo, in defiance of High Court ruling, as well as related remarks by Malema about the death of Eugene Tereplang. Following my little research on very public information about Julius Malema, whenever he publicly sings this song, trouble always follows him. This song is one of the main reasons why he would later on have to leave the ANC, and also the very same song is the reason why Malema has been trending recently. But there's also another big reason that led to him having to be punished by the ANC in an attempt to make him submit. From the 2nd to the 5th of April 2010, Malema led an ANC Youth League delegation on a controversial visit to Zimbabwe. The league said that it aimed to use the trip to strengthen its relations with the ZANU-PF Youth League, as well as to conduct a fact-finding mission. Malema met with Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe and other ZANU-PF politicians, and in public statements he was complimentary of ZANU-PF, comparing it favorably to Morgan Tsvangirai's movement of the Democratic Change, or MDC. His statement sparked fear in some quarters that the ANC would attempt to imitate ZANU-PF's land reform program, and there was also concerns that Malema's partisans' comments would undermine ongoing efforts by Zuma's government to broker a political settlement between ZANU-PF and the MDC. On the 8th of April 2010, Malema received international media attention for his conduct during an altercation with a BBC journalist called Jonah Fisher. You all know the infamous interview at a media briefing about his visit to Zimbabwe. Malema mocked the MDC for having offices in affluent Sandton and became enraged when Fisher interjected to point out that Malema himself lived in Sandton. During the exchange, Malema called Fisher a bloody agent and a small boy. The following day, Malema said he was not remorseful, describing Fisher as a disrespectful and the United Kingdom as a country whose media always undermine the credibility and integrity of African leaders. On the 10th of April in 2010, President Zuma held a press conference in Durban to address controversies involving Malema. The press conference was later remembered as a turning point in the relationship between Zuma and Malema, because obviously Malema felt betrayed after getting the strongest rebuke up to that point in connection to the song Dubulipo. Zuma said that defying the High Court's ruling would contravene a direct instruction from the ANC and therefore would amount to undermining the leadership of the ANC, and made a mockery of the judicial system, and would go on to say this should not be tolerated. He distanced himself from Malema's remarks about Zimbabwe, stating that the ANC's commitment of not picking a side in the Zimbabwean peace process, and said that Malema's treatment of Jonah Fisher was regrettable and unacceptable, regardless of any provocation on Fisher's part. The most famous fascinating part is Zuma describing Malema's recent conduct as alien to ANC, and Zuma reminded the Youth League that it was subject to the ANC.
This nigga looks more like, today he looks more like his younger self than he ever did.
No.
Jesus.
Rules and policies, implying that Malema would be subject to internal disciplinary procedures. In the aftermath of Zuma's press conference, Malema remained defiant and was quoted telling the media that even President Thabo Mbeki, Zuma's former political rival of course, had not responded so strongly to the public when he differed with the ANC Youth League. Basically, from my understanding, Jacob Zuma was saying the ANC Youth League belongs to the ANC and must not have an independent thought process. As much as I'm neutral regarding Malema and whether he can become president, I have to say, in my own humble opinion, Jacob Zuma was actually wrong and all these institutions are vile and evil. The ANC Youth League was right. Malema was right to state his own opinion and views when he was the Youth League president, because the Youth League must show us their independent thoughts and opinions as the future leaders of the political sphere here in South Africa. We don't want more of this ass-kissing. The ANC Youth League was honestly at the peak of its powers at this time, because I believe the Youth League of the political party must have freedom of thought and expression. The old heads want the ANC Youth League to fall in line and be groomed. Why groom the ANC Youth League when the stage is already starting to fail? Why not have the Youth League show us how they plan to do things different? But anyway, the following week after Zuma's press conference, the ANC announced that Malema would face formal internal disciplinary proceedings with charges stemming from his public remarks about Zuma, as well as the incidents of ill discipline already noted by Zuma. The charges were pursued in the ANC's National Disciplinary Committee, then chaired by Derek Honeycomb and staffed by various ANC leaders who viewed Malema in a very disliking manner. Malema was represented in the proceedings by ANC Treasury General Matthews Posa. Julius Malema was suspended for 5 years, meaning he must step down as the president of the ANC Youth League. Another important matter that needs understanding is, what is this Duvuli Bunu song that kept getting Malema into so much trouble? Duvuli Bunu, translated as Shoot the Boer or Kill the Boer, is a controversial South African song sung in Xhosa and Zulu. Boers are the descendants of the Dutch-speaking free burghers of the Eastern Cape frontier in South Africa during the 17th, 18th and 19th centuries. Depending on interpretations, the song might alternatively refer to the institutional structures such as the National Party, which was the ruling party of South Africa for a long time during apartheid, or to specific groups of people such as the members of the South African police, colloquially known as the Boers, and armed forces during apartheid. Supporters of the song, particularly black South Africans, see it as a liberation song and articulates an important part of South African history. The song originates in struggles against apartheid when it was first sung to protest the Afrikaner-dominated apartheid government of South Africa. In post-apartheid South Africa, the song has been most notably sung by the African National Congress Youth League leader Julius Malema and, surprisingly, also South African President Jacob Zuma. Critics of the song such as AfriForum and Dow SA state that the song encourages and can be partly blamed for the violent attacks at South African farms owned by white people in 2011. The song encourages and can be partly blamed for the violent attacks on South African farms owned by white people in 2011. The South Gauteng High Court ruled that the song was discriminately harmful and undermined the dignity of Afrikaners and thereby constituted hate speech. The court ruled that Julius Malema, who was brought before the court for previously singing the song at rallies, was forbidden from singing this song in the future. Following the ruling, Malema changed the wording of the song to Kiss the Boer and sang that instead, however can be argued to still have the same psychological influence as the original lyrics of the song, due to the well-known context of the altered lyrics. The following year, the African National Congress stated that they would not sing this song anymore. Following the creation of the Economic Freedom Fighters, Julius Malema stunned everyone when the new political party suddenly exploded into the scene, instantly shaking the landscape of South Africa, instantly shaking the landscape of South African politics by becoming the second biggest opposition party in South Africa. You could also say EFF also led to the downfall of former President Jacob Zuma and acted as somewhat karma for the way Zuma turned his back on Malema and the way he turned his back on the ANC Youth League at the time. They brought life and chaos to the South African parliament, and to this day they still haunt even the current President Cyril Ramaphosa, especially during his Phala Phala drama. Recently, the EFF celebrated its 10th year anniversary, where Julius Malema yet again has trended for singing the same song, Duvuli Bunu, the very same song that gave the ANC hierarchy the excuse to bury the entire Youth League project. In 2022, Judge Edwin Molahlehi of the Johannesburg High Court found that the chant and song was not intended to be taken seriously, that the reference to Boer did not literally refer to white or Afrikaner people, and it did not incite hatred towards white people generally, ruled the song was not hate speech. At the EFF's 10th anniversary rally in 2023, Malema again sang the song to an estimated 90,000 supporters at the FNB Stadium. The incident received international coverage, with Elon Musk criticizing Malema on Twitter for singing the song, stating that he was...
But at this point, Elon is pushing propaganda. He's been tweeting this shit now. He's been...
Shout out to Elon.
was openly pushing for genocide of white people in South Africa, with Malema replying on Twitter, "Obulela Masipa." I won't explain what that means, just look up what it means. South Africa's official opposition political party, the Democratic Alliance, stated that it would file a complaint with the United Nations Human Rights Council, whilst the Freedom Front Plus opened a case of intimidation. Malema later
My guy.
It doesn't even look like president material. Like, get better, dog.
Jesus Christ, if this nigga was the president.
No, cabanga ungene ofisini lakamasipala uthola isithombe sale.
Did you see that?
It doesn't make sense.
We need to watch something.
It doesn't make sense.
denied that the accusations, citing Judge Molahleli's 2022 judgment that the song was to be interpreted within the political context and to not be taken literally. Malema stated that he and the EFF would continue to sing this song. I do have a few comments regarding this matter. Firstly, the Democratic Alliance should have just made a small comment, or they should have just kept quiet like the ANC. Because now I'm definitely certain that the DA won't be getting any extra votes. They need to beat the ANC. Elon Musk is wrong for what he did as well. You can't learn about your home country through tweets or through the internet. Should have tried to reach out to white South Africans first and ask them if they are afraid of being killed, if black people have threatened their lives in any way. His comments were absolutely nonsensical. I don't believe white South Africans are living in fear, whether you are black or white. Aren't we all suffering from load shedding and from a corrupt government? Where was Elon Musk when we were all begging him for help and begging him to look into this matter of load shedding? To believe some of us liked this man, bro. We actually liked this man. Now I'm also gonna be Team Zuckerberg from today. Let's go Threads, honestly. Let's go Threads, even though it's a very shitty app. Don't be mistaken into thinking I believe Malema is the right person to lead the country right now at this specific moment. I may agree with his foreign policy, and I mean I heavily agree.
He's too chaotic. I think that's one thing I agree with him on. Malema is just too chaotic.
In what sense? In what sense?
In the sense that he doesn't act presidential. He doesn't have that calm demeanor. With him, everything has to be abrupt. Everything
I think it's telling this can't calm demeanor.
Yeah. No, but not if you're running a country. Not if you're running a country. Not if everything that you say and everything that you do will affect the country.
Yes, it makes sense. But look at Trump, though. He won with that. Thing is, I think
he won and got impeached. So Trump he's a...
No, he didn't get impeached.
He did get impeached.
No, he didn't win the second term. That's all. That's why he's running again, because he didn't win 2020
okay,
elections.
I'd like to look it up, but
he won 2016, he lost 2020.
Trump is a bad example to use because he's also the only president to ever run successfully for one term.
No, but the point
in a very long time.
The point that I was making is, if we're opposition and you're not yet in office, you can't behave like the person who's in office because you need to get people towards you.
Yeah, but also
because I said to Musi my money, for instance, he was like presidential, sharp English, friendly guy. I'm in an interracial relationship, that type of shit. But it didn't work.
No, it didn't work because there was no market for him. He's under DA. Like, you're not gonna get black people talking about white independence. So the thing that Julius Malema, you can't run a country with that. And you can't say he's gonna be president and then he's gonna have a sudden epiphany, a sudden
not an epiphany, but
everything.
I think, but in most cases, even with fucking anything, we are sangana. Then when you're like, hey, I think it's bumping your manje, and then you understand because. As much as...
Yeah, but we've never seen that side of him. Even, you can say what you want, even that, his outbursts.
Yeah.
He's a very smart guy. He's a very smart guy. He's never had an outburst like the one, that bloody agent.
Yeah.
But he still has those outbursts. And Nakona, it's like, I don't think that he's...
Okay, let's put it like this.
He's the perfect guy to be the president.
I think he would have diminished if he didn't have that a long time ago.
If he didn't have it,
I would have diminished.
Well, it's no, but the one thing that he has is that he's a leader. He's the face of EFF. The other political parties don't have a face. They don't have a leader. Cyril Ramaphosa
No, it doesn't.
He's not the
He's not the face. No.
Jacob Zuma was the face.
Face, yeah.
He was the
The
face.
brand.
Helen Zille was the face.
And the brand, yeah.
So that's what I'm saying with the, I don't think I agree with Uland.
He's chaotic.
He's a bit chaotic.
But more than anything, I think if you look at the like isimo sesiphila kuso, being the fresh cut, clean type of guy and diplomatic, people are no longer gonna gravitate towards that anymore. It's like I think it's time is up for whether for Julius or for any other leader who comes up. Hence and Tlantlalaks.
Yeah, but the global market doesn't react well to chaos. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't react to chaos.
In the media, yes, but they work well with chaos, though. If you look at all the other nations, like Arabia or China,
no, they have a structure. The president reflects not only their policies but their way of life. With us, since it's not a communist country, we can't say no. I don't agree with you, Julius. So that's what I'm saying. With Julius, I don't know. I don't know if he's.
So basically,
I would pick him to be the president.
SA grounds are not fertile for him. That's what you're saying.
Not SA, but not SA itself, but the country is very delicate. Like even from the rand to, like the economy is very.
Yeah, it's too finicky.
Yeah, it's fragile. It's too finicky. Come on.
This foreign policy. But I'm personally not convinced how he would perform in a local landscape, and I have a feeling that he would increase the likelihood of us getting sanctioned by those European nations. And at this specific moment, please listen to my words, people. Listen to at these specific moments, we are not ready for our lives to be flipped upside down to that extreme. We are not yet ready for sanctions. Russia was ready for sanctions. If an economy is independent internally, if we are strong internally, we already have allies like China, we already have allies like Russia, Saudi Arabia, and maybe those few nations as well. If we are strong internally, that's when a leader like Malema can come into power and he can do all these things that he wants to do and push the external agendas or the African agenda to unite the entire continent. That is a very beautiful agenda. I believe that should be the long-term goal of every African nation and every African leader. So, what I want to see when it comes to Julius Malema personally is how he would handle these internal matters, how he plans to improve the country internally. Maybe it's ignorance in my part, but I want to know how is he going to improve our country internally? How do they plan to fix load shedding? How do they plan to fix unemployment? Although something like unemployment will take a long time to fix, but what's the way forward? How do we stop the looting, the stealing of money in our state, right? Reckless decisions can't be afforded right now. Even the DA, honestly, I'm far from convinced with them leading our country forward. We all know why this war is actually happening. And we know it's definitely because those G7 nations, especially the United States, the Ukraine was emboldened, and so they took the decisions to pursue joining the alliance, which would expand NATO's territory into all Soviet territory and put Russia at risk. So this whole mess of following the NATO regime has caused so much chaos to innocent lives. People's lives have been flipped upside down. So I tell you now, if the DA wants to make a similar decision of siding with NATO nations against Russia and China, then we will be placed in an unnecessary risk.
They do.
So as painful as it may seem, we really have no major option to replace the ANC at the moment. So the next election already seems very gloomy to me.
Hey, next election is going to be tricky.
Thank you, Melusi.
Melusi has shy Spanish, man.
No, but what I'm saying is, this is a very interesting time.
Yeah,
We
it's like
live in a
we are
very
part of.
interesting time.
We're at a turning point. It's like we're gonna have that effect of that BC, that thing, Gabo. Like 20, 30 years from now, we'll be talking about pre-2023 or 2024. We'll talk about post. We'll be literally talking about different eras. So,
But yeah, is he a hero or a tyrant? He's not a tyrant. There's arguments that make him a hero, but Tyrant,
Tyrant is too
he's not a
far-fetched.
tyrant.
Chaotic or problematic, yes, you
Yes,
can give him
he's
that.
direct, and yeah, he's basically like Trump but smarter. Yeah.
He might come back.
I think
but,
he's definitely
but ngala ma-case abamfuqa wona manje ayi
yeah,
angisazi.
he's probably going to jail. He's likely going to jail. Let me just say that, because the cases that what they have on him is okay.
But apparently he has the same on everyone else.
Yeah, like Joe Biden actually has the same thing. Though Joe Biden also is being accused of the same thing.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, but Julius Malema I don't think he's a tyrant. I think
Time will tell. But I think
he's passionate.
Ngokula now ngomnyaka, like you're not gonna have as much steam as you had in your youth. So I think he'll come down cut. But hey, we'll see, man. Anyway, please like the video and subscribe. So we called manje, trying to reach 500 subscribers.
Yes, sir.
And suggest any video you'd like us to react to, and watch any other content that we have. We share, faka link, bemnandich, etc.